Wipro Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director Thierry Delaporte has now resigned. The software major said it has appointed Srinivas Pallia as the CEO and MD of the company. Now, Delaporte had another 15 months of his tenure as CEO remaining. His exit, therefore, has come as a surprise to the markets. While Thierry's tenure at Wipro saw a significant share price increase, but the growth continued to be a struggle for Wipro over past many quarters. In the third quarter, ending December of 2023, the company reported its fourth consecutive quarterly fall in net profit that dipped 12% year-on-year. The IT major also slashed its revenue growth guidance at both the lower as well as upper end by a negative of 1.5% to minus 0.5%. What do we make of the resignation, the outgoing CEO, and what's next for the company? To discuss that is joining us on the show Shriram Subramanian, is the founder and MD at InGovern Research Services. Also with me is Kartik Malhotra. Before I come to Shriram, Kartik, what are we making of what's happening at Wipro right now?
A number of things, Shweta. Number one, of course, it is a story about numbers. And if you look at numbers between 2020 and the December quarter of 2023, we've seen Wipro growing the slowest in the IT pack. And by the IT pack, I mean the four big boys of the IT player, which includes Infosys, TCS, HCL and Wipro. So Wipro delivered a CAGR of just about 2.34% or so, much slower than the pack. However, on the share price side, Wipro had a positive surprise, and after HCL is actually, it has the share price of Wipro has seen the highest amount of growth, exceeding about 111% or so in the same period. Now, what many journalists out there are alluding to is the fact that perhaps expat CEOs find it difficult to adapt to the cultural sensitivities of a country like India. But I think there is a larger problem at play specifically in Wipro. And that problem is that Wipro has seen, minus Srini, who has just taken over, from the year 2000, in the last 24 years, it has seen 7 CEOs, and out of those 7 CEOs, 5 CEOs have not completed their 5-year terms. That seems to be a Wipro-specific problem.
All right. Shriram is also with us on the show. Shriram, thank you for taking time out. Always good to have you on the show. What are we making of these series of exits from Wipro right now? A lot of employees as well as analysts that we are reading of are saying that this was long time coming.
Yeah, good morning. Definitely, Wipro has a business challenge. If you see Thierry, he instituted a restructuring, he reorganized the businesses. So from that perspective, there are a series of CXO level kind of exits from the company, including the CFO who left last year. So there was a lot of heat on the company from investors to show better metrics. The competitive intensity has only increased because there is a slowdown as far as customer contracts are concerned. So from that perspective, performance in the numbers is not showing up. So even last year, there were rumors that Thierry is on his way out and the board is seeking his removal, etc., etc. But only that they gave him a slightly longer rope of about a year. I think come this financial year has ended now. So I think the results of this year, which will be declared in the next coming fortnight or so, will tell the true story. I think the board has finally asked him to exit.
Mr. Subramanian, good morning. Kartik here. Is this also to do with the fact that Indian IT companies in general and Wipro in particular has not really been able to live up to the expectations of the changing disruptions by way of artificial intelligence? Was this something which was high on the CEO's to-do agenda, which the CEO has not been able to deliver on?
No, I don't think artificial intelligence, AI, still has made any substantial impact as far as client contracts goes, or the revenues or the outlook goes. So it is just even traditional, I would say, cloud, the mobility, etc. All these traditional offerings post-COVID, which has still definitely increased, and Wipro has been unable to win any of the large contracts vis-a-vis competition. The integration of Capco as a large consulting company into the Wipro as a IT services has been a challenge. I think that has also led to some amount of discontent out there. So all these has mattered to Wipro as a specific problem.
Okay, and do you see this problem at Wipro actually being beyond just Thierry Delaporte? Because in the last 24 years or so, ever since the year 2000, Wipro has seen 7 CEOs, out of which 5 have been unable to complete their 5-year terms as CEOs. Do you see at some level perhaps too much intervention of the board, or do you think this is just the job that boards are meant to do?
No, I think yes. I mean, the board needs to sort of arrive at some CEO and persist with them. Hopefully, Srinivas Pallia, who is sort of with Infosys for a long while and has seen as a CXO. So hopefully, this experiment now with Srini will go a long way. Getting an expat, especially who is based out of France, which is not necessarily the core market for Indian IT services companies. Almost 70% of revenues of any Indian IT services companies, including Wipro, will come from the US. I think that is a mistake that Wipro seems to have made. Having somebody closer to the customer maybe could have helped a bit. So got to see how this pans out, the new CEO.
Okay, you said closer to the customer. That obviously happened to be a problem for somebody who's based out of France. But in the case of Srini, who's based out of New Jersey, USA, is that the closeness to customer given Wipro, like the rest of the IT pack, has most of the clients in the United States?
I would think so. Definitely, if you see analyst commentary and all, it looks like Thierry was not moving out of Paris or France extensively to meet customers and the like. And the CEO's role effectively becomes like I would say, an ambassador for the company. Got to go and meet at least 1,500 clients a year. So that doesn't seem to have happened at Wipro. So at least Srini, that would be the expectation, I would think. Bulk of the customers of Wipro would be in the US. Meeting them will be the key. And obviously, collective offerings of all delivery capabilities to the existing customers itself is a big thing, I would think. Enhancing the wallet share of existing clients.
All right, and let's also spend a minute on Srini Pallia. He is, of course, now the MD of one of the largest IT players in the country. He is a Wipro veteran, has been with the company for the longest. Perhaps it was relatively easy for Wipro right now to decide on who is going to be the successor. He continues to be popular, at least that is what we are reading from what is floating out of internally as far as the board meeting is concerned. How is it a departure for Wipro, which has traditionally seen, I believe, expats as CEOs and MDs, and not so much somebody who's been in the company for a while and is an Indian?
No, so I think that's what Mr. Subramanian is also, trying to tell us, that being close to the customer is pretty much at the heart of any IT company's DNA. And if the CEO is close to the customer, which happens to be the case for Srini because he's based in the US, and that is where a bulk of the business comes from, it is definitely going to serve as an advantage to Wipro. But Mr. Subramanian, if I can just draw you back into this conversation, there are now these instances of sackings or exits happening over phone calls. This was something that started off with startups in India, and now it seems that this whole process of performance improvement plans and emails and feedback, etc., seem to have been given way to by virtue of phone calls being used as a medium to to get senior level people to quit. Is that a new trend that you're seeing?
No, I think COVID changed everything, right? Work from home has become a reality. There are today remote-only companies. Even large companies are working remote only. So I would think that is par for the course. So even I would think asking somebody to resign over phone calls would sort of may have become the norm. And this is probably one such instance if what is in the media is true.
Okay, but in any prior interactions, were there enough notices, enough warnings given to Mr. Delaporte about his candidature as CEO falling short of the expectations of the board? I mean, CAGR is one way to look at it, and Wipro obviously lost clients and delivered the slowest growth. But the share price of Wipro has still not really taken the kind of beating which is commensurate with revenues. So was there pressure of revenues and margins on Delaporte? Because if the pressure was on stock prices, then stock prices seem to have done well for Wipro.
No, I would think there was always some pressure on Delaporte because even last year, I think analysts at the AGM had also sought that the performance is not up to the mark and the board had to step up. Even as early as just January this year, Rishabh Premji seems to have been quoted saying that the board fully backs Mr. Delaporte. So there was definitely pressure. There were signs that the board or and the company was the shareholders were unhappy with the performance of the CEO, and this was, I think, some time coming.
And, since you talked about Rishad Premji openly backing and supporting Delaporte just about 6 months ago, does this therefore come as a surprise to you that within 6 months Delaporte has been let go of? Because from what we've been reading in the past, at least in the last 1 year, there seems to be enough and more support towards Thierry's candidature, and he was expected to, of course, complete his tenure.
No, I think the pressure was there. The timing of obviously the exit, or unless there has been any change in the past 6 months, and if Mr. Delaporte has definitely not gone, traveled extensively, or won any big contracts in the past 6 months, obviously this was probably as timely as any time, given the fact that we are at a financial year end, and it's better to the stock price as. Kartik said is sort of at least holding firm.
All right.
Shriram Subramanian, always a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir, for joining in for your inputs on that story. That, of course, continues to be the headline for now. A major change in leadership at IT major Wipro, which is dominating headlines.